Humans have an intimate curiosity that has led to many discoveries. However, sometimes our curiosity can lead us to visit places we should not, ending in tragedy. Here are two such stories. So, fasten your seatbelts and let's get started. Our first story is The Devil's Hole. On the evening of June 20th, 1965, four adventurous high school friends embarked on a daring expedition to a remote desert location, about 90 miles northwest of Las Vegas, Nevada, within the infamous Death Valley. The group consisted of 19-year-old Paul Giancantieri, his brother-in-law, 20-year-old David Rose, 19-year-old Bill Alter, and his 16-year-old younger brother, Jack. As they arrived to their destination, the barren desert landscape seemed unremarkable to the untrained eye. But to these intrepid friends, it held a secret that they were eager to uncover. Unloading their heavy underwater diving equipment, they ascended to a nearby hill, guided by their knowledge of the area. However, they couldn't miss the numerous warning signs urging them to turn back. Ignoring the signs, they continued onward, slipping under a huge fence that marked the entrance to their destination, the Devil's Hole. The Devil's Hole was a renowned underwater cave, and their plan was to dive all the way down to its bottom, an impressive depth of 325 feet. Jack, the youngest of the group, decided to opt out, overcome by second thoughts and fear. The remaining three friends, undeterred, grabbed their scuba gear and immersed themselves in the warm 92-degree Fahrenheit water. The friends signaled to each other, and with their flashlights in hand, they ventured into the dark abyss of the Devil's Hole. Meanwhile, Jack stayed outside, waiting anxiously for their return. Several hours passed, and eventually, David and Bill resurfaced, but Paul was nowhere to be seen. Concerned, they inquired about his whereabouts, assuming he had already returned. Jack informed them that he hadn't seen Paul, sparking immediate alarm. Without delay, David and Bill decided to go back down to search for their missing friend. However, during their descent, David swam ahead too quickly, and Bill couldn't keep up with him. He lost sight of David in the pitch-black depths, making it impossible to continue the search. Fearing for the worst, Bill surfaced to inform Jack and called for help. The police, acknowledging the seriousness of the situation, contacted experienced diver Jim Hoots, who was familiar with the Devil's Hole. Arriving promptly, Jim began the search for the missing divers. Hoping they had sought refuge in Brown's room, a large air pocket within the cave, Jim and his dive partner scoured the area. However, the divers were not there. After finding some of Paul's diving equipment on the lower ledge halfway down to the bottom, it was evident that something terrible had happened. Jim and his partner decided to go back down to the bottom to search for their bodies. As the search continued, Jim noticed a small hole in the cave's bottom, just big enough for a person to fit through with scuba tanks. As he approached the hole, he felt a strong current moving into the hole. Suspecting that this hole had led to an underwater cave with a strong current, Jim wisely decided not to explore it, as they were unequipped for such a risky dive. Eventually, the divers came to the grim conclusion that Paul and David had succumbed to nitrogen narcosis, losing consciousness as they were pulled into this mysterious hole, never to be seen again. Despite multiple attempts to locate their bodies, they were never recovered, leaving behind a heart-wrenching mystery. In 2022, an earthquake in Mexico reportedly caused a tsunami that affected Devil's Hole, raising the possibility of an underground ocean connecting various parts of the world. However, the hole's true depth remains unknown. To this day, diving in the Devil's Hole is strictly prohibited, except for scientific purposes. The tragic loss of Paul and David serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of venturing into the unknown and the mysteries that continue to baffle humankind. Our second story is The Pope Lick Monster. The eerie tale of the Pope Lick Monster takes us to the Norfolk Southern Railroad Trestle in eastern Jefferson County, Louisville, Kentucky. Named after the Pope Lick Creek flowing beneath it, the legend tales of a half-man, half-goat creature with piercing yellow eyes, said to reside under this imposing trestle. Local lore surrounding the Pope Lick Monster has fueled countless spooky stories, though no official sightings have ever been confirmed. Nevertheless, many residents swear they've encountered the creature. Its origin remains shrouded in mystery, but several intriguing speculations have emerged over time. One belief is that the Pope Lick Monster was once part of a freak show, subjected to mistreatment and cruelty. Fueled by vengeance, it escaped after a train derailment on the trestle, further intertwining its legend with that of the ghost train, which also is said to haunt the same area. Others tell a darker tale, connecting the creature to a local farmer who allegedly practiced sacrificial rituals to the devil. Desperate to revive his failing crops and fortune, the farmer delved into dark arts, making a sinister pact with the Prince of Darkness. However, such deals often lead to disastrous consequences, and the farmer's fate took a horrifying turn. Legends speak of the Pope Lick monster's ability to employ hypnosis or mimic human voices to lure unsuspecting trespassers under the trestle. The unfortunate victims meet their doom at the hands of an approaching train, leaving a chilling warning for those who dare to venture into the area. Other accounts depict the monster as a menacing figure, descending from the trestle to pounce upon passing cars, viciously attacking them with its blood-stained axe. The mere sight of the creature is said to be so unsettling that some individuals walking across the high trestle are driven to leap off, succumbing to their fate. Despite the ambiguity surrounding the Pope Lick monster's true nature and origins, each year people visit the area to test their nerves against the high castle, or to try to catch a glimpse of this monster. One such person was Roquel Bain. Roquel lived in a small town in Dayton, Ohio, and had earned a reputation as a daring thrill-seeker during her high school years. Car surfing was her favorite pastime, a dangerous activity where she would ride on the exterior of moving cars, clutching onto the roof for dear life. But her appetite for adventure didn't stop there. Roquel was equally drawn to psychological thrills, exploring supposedly haunted places to see if she could spook herself. As the years passed, Roquel matured and decided to focus on building a stable life and career for herself. She attended college and pursued a degree in surgical technologies. By 2009, she found employment as a surgical assistant in Dayton and had her first child, a son whom she cherished. However, beneath her facade of adult responsibility, the wild thrill-seeker from her youth still resided. Fast forward to April 2016, Roquel was now 26 years old, and an unusual weekend presented itself. No work commitments and no childcare responsibilities meant she had some rare free time on her hands. Eager to seize this opportunity, Roquel asked her boyfriend, David Nee, 41, to join her on a road trip to Louisville, Kentucky, where she wanted to explore the infamous and haunted Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Waverly Hills had once been a place where tuberculosis patients were sent to isolate themselves in a desperate attempt to stop the spread of this deadly virus. Many patients suffered and died there, leading to numerous chilling ghost stories and reports of paranormal encounters. Nowadays, the abandoned sanatorium preserved by the Waverly Hills Historical Society has become a popular attraction for those seeking a spooky thrill. David wasn't particularly keen on the idea of visiting a haunted place, but he could see how much it meant to Roquel, so he agreed to go with her. A few days later, the couple embarked on their journey, driving from South Dayton to Louisville. After arriving in Louisville and having dinner, they realized they had a few hours to kill before their scheduled tour of Waverly Hills at 10 p.m. Roquel had learned about another spooky spot just outside Louisville, a rickety old narrow bridge known as the Pope Lick Trestle. Legend had it that a half-goat, half-man monster called the Pope Lick Monster resided under the bridge and would emerge to attack unsuspecting visitors. Intrigued by the tale, Roquel wanted to explore this eerie bridge during their free time. Located in a heavily wooded area, the Pope Lick Trestle was about 800 feet long and stood 90 to 100 feet off the ground at its highest point. Despite the warnings and no trespassing signs, the couple found a narrow gap in the chain-link fence and decided to explore the bridge. The sensation of walking on this terrifying structure, especially in the dark of night, thrilled the couple. They reached the midpoint of the bridge, where it was the highest from the ground. Suddenly, the bridge began to shake, and they heard a loud grinding sound. Two bright glowing lights appeared at the start of the bridge. David and Roquel had failed to realize that the Pope Lick Trestle was an active train bridge. They were now trapped with a train fast approaching. The train's blaring horn and brakes were no match for their desperate attempts to outrun it. With no escape route, David shouted for Roquel to climb down and hang off the side of the bridge. Using the wooden slats under the rails as a last resort, David managed to cling onto the bridge, but Roquel was not as quick. Tragically, the train struck her, sending her falling off the bridge to her death. In the aftermath of the incident, the railroad was absolved of any negligence, as they had taken proper precautions with warning signs and fences. However, David faced severe consequences for his involvement in the tragedy, charged with unlawfully disrupting and delaying a train. He pleaded to a lesser charge of trespassing and was fined. The Pope Lick Trestle has a dark history, with dozens of deaths over the years from those who sought a thrill by visiting the bridge. Despite the dangers, the allure of seeking out a legendary monster proved too tempting for some, leading to heartbreaking and avoidable consequences. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these stories as much as I enjoyed sharing them. If you have any other stories of your own that you'd like to share, please leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. Until next time, stay safe and obey keep out signs.